Well, thanks for everybody for coming out. We're excited to do this. We started doing this last year and had a pretty good turn up, and it's twice as big this year, so even better. I'll just cut right to the chase. A lot of you guys submitted questions already on Facebook. I'm Creed, by the way. This is Marvin Raber. He's the director of warranty. And this is Spencer Tangerman from Aldi Specialist. So we're excited to have him out here. So anything Aldi, he is your guy. All right, we'll get started with these questions that you guys submitted over Facebook. The first question is ventilation on the Tab 400, 320, and tag. I assume this was, when you're heating or cooling. Same goes for both. We have the setting on the windows to where you can crack it, and it's not going to let too much cold air in, too much hot air in. But whenever you're heating or cooling with these trailers, it's important to let air cycle through it because you're going to have condensation. It's just the nature of the game when it comes to these trailers. So a lot of people ask, when I wake up, I have dripping, ceilings or anything like that. It's because you're not getting enough ventilation. So that's probably why, especially when you're heating and it's cold outside.
How many windows? 1, 2, or 3?
Well, on the 3 windows, so they all have that.
So should you crack all 3?
I would recommend cracking all 3.
And
yeah.
Not the roof vent. Just leave the roof.
The roof vent, I would probably leave it closed because if you do that, you're just going to let in cold air, or you're going to let in hot air when you're trying to heat it or cool it. Good. We've been asked to stand up, so we're going to stand.
No, you're right here with us.
Spencer Towers is all.
You might want to ask the videographer to adjust the camera now.
Oh, that's true. Because you're like this.
Yeah, your heads are missing.
I feel tall for once.
Now you're looking at their belly buttons.
One thing and everything changes.
Can we just clarify that air conditioner, if we have the air conditioner on, should we crack a window as well?
Yes.
I would, yes.
Oh, okay.
When you have, an ambient temperature outside that's quite a bit different from inside, it's going to create condensation, especially with, the size of the units. I would definitely recommend it. Second question is hitch connection for units connecting and disconnecting. I believe we're going to do a demonstration of connecting a trailer to your towing vehicle. Marvin, you're going to do that then at some point
towards the end
of the Q&A. Aldi troubleshooting. So this time, if anybody has any Aldi troubleshooting questions, anything that they have for Spencer, I'm going to leave this time to them. So.
Okay, my first question is, when you turn it on and make all of your adjustments for your day mode, night mode, get everything set, don't forget to actually turn it on when you do it, and then you exit back out of there and then you turn it off. Did you just turn it all back off?
No, as long as if you hit the power button, you turn the whole system off, yes.
Okay,
But the settings should be safe.
Okay, so as long as you don't turn it off, then the little light's bothering you, so you can go to your backlight mode and then adjust that to go off, to black out. So when it blacks out, it's still running.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So then how do you go to the black light?
There is a setting. If you go into your settings, if you hit the wrench, I believe if you hit the down arrow once, there should be a little sun symbol. In that sun symbol, there should be a setting that says standby. I think they have it kind of backwards, where it's always defaulted as on. If you hit that to off and then OK, that should activate that setting. So when you go into your normal screen, where it just shows your inside temperature, that should be dark. And then to reactivate the screen, you just either tap the screen and it should pop back on, or you hit the menu button.
So when they ask a question, just repeat it.
Yes.
Can you address the troubleshooting for when you're getting hot water out of your cold water taps?
Yes, and I just talked to somebody today about that, and I checked their valves. All their valves were set up properly. What I think is happening is if there's just hot water being stagnant at our mixing valve, because the cold water is connected to that, what I think is happening is it's actually heating that brass valve, and I think it's just bleeding that heat back down the tube or that hose and going back into your faucet. That's why it's only probably, it's cold, goes hot for a few seconds and then goes back cold. As far as I'm aware, that's what the concern was. I think that's what the issue is. My thought is maybe just adding a check valve in there to prevent that backflow from happening, and that should prevent any warm water coming out of your cold faucet. Yes.
I have a grasp on what I have to do, but maybe a simple picture showing running the ground from the Aldi down to the battery would be good and helpful for some.
Sure.
You know, showing the connecting, how you connect it to the white wire on the Aldi. And
Okay. I'll have to see if I can't. So the issue is a common issue is that the tap is blowing a lot of fuses. If you realize, yep, if it pops a fuse, if it is the ground side fuse, I think the actual fix that I have found is to remove our ground location from a kind of a generic ground bus and run a ground directly from our system back.
Stop you just
Sure.
a second, 'cause I have no idea what you're saying.
That's where what he was suggesting is pictures and kind of instructions on how to do that would probably.
Something down ground bus is, you could put a picture of the bus.
The ground bus?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
For those
So
of us
it's.
who don't speak that language.
Sure. So think of this as the ground bus,
Okay.
and then a bunch of wires connected to this one thing.
Okay.
It's a generic ground or a ground bus or whatever you want. There's a lot of different terms. So you remove our ground from this ground bus and have it just a single wire from our system to the battery.
Can a normal lay person do this?
Can a real person do this?
It does take some tools. You will need, some bulk wire, some crimping tools. It is, for people that don't do that normally, it is a little intimidating, yes. But if you don't feel comfortable with it, if you are able to explain that to somebody, or I can help explain it to somebody, if you give me a call and you're at a dealership, I can explain that to the tech, and he should be able to. My name is. I have a work cell. If you want my work cell, you guys are more than welcome to text me. It is 503. 915.
I might write this down.
5694.
I need that one too.
I do text.
Anytime, day or night.
I normally have it on me at all times. Obviously, if I don't answer right away, I just don't have it on me. But all the way during the weekday, go ahead. 503 915 5694.
so we can just check and you can't pick it, we'll see it.
And
You'll see my
before
picture?
the G.
The picture's up, no.
Yeah.
The picture that you're gonna do.
I'll have to get together with these guys and see if we can't get something on their website for them.
Little YouTube videos, something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
YouTube videos.
Sure.
Not asking for a lot, are you?
Well, first you have to understand that a ground bus doesn't have anything to do with
503 915 915
I'll get to you in a second.
965694.
5694.
If it's just
915.
warm, my first guess is it's probably your mixing valve. There is a very simple adjustment how to do that. While I'm here, I'm sure I can show you how to do that, or a lot of people here know how to do that as well. And this community that I found out is very fantastic with helping each other. So we will get you taken care of.
Personally, I find myself really good at YouTube, really bad at reading instructions my whole life. So there's the glycol loop is a closed system. There's an expansion tank, I understand, sort of hidden away back in the corner. I found it yesterday when I saw a trailer with all the things taken off of it.
Yes.
I understand from the forum that once in a while there might be evaporation of some sort, and you have to bring some fluid into that to make up your system from a leveling standpoint. How do you know, one, you're lower in level than you need to be, and two, how often should you check that on a periodic basis for running that system?
I'd have to see when it's installed. Can you see the face of it to see the level very well?
Some of them, some of them you can.
Use a mirror down there.
Yeah.
So you'll need a mirror. There is a min and max level on that expansion tank. It is not colored, so it's kind of hard to see a little bit. Some you can see the face of it and see it. Some people are saying you need to use a mirror or a camera or something in there. But it should be normal operation if it's cold. They say to have it about 1/4 of an inch or 1/2 an inch above the minimum line, or I would just put it in the middle, basically. It will expand when it gets heated. You are right pretty much in the sense that it is a closed loop. It's not a fully closed loop because it does have a vent valve, and that's why it is mixed 50% distilled water and 50% glycol. So when it's heated up to about 185, 176, there will be a little bit of evaporation in there. So your level will drop a little bit.
And as a follow-up, is there a manufacturer's recommended glycol that you should be using?
The stuff,
distilled?
yes, the stuff that they use from factory here is a brand called Century.
Okay.
I know that they do sell it out of their warehouse or their plant over here. I actually saw somebody walking around with a bottle of it yesterday that they bought from here. Another place, a good source to get it from is Amazon.com.
Yep.
And it's about, I don't remember the price off the top of my head, but it's inexpensive. What is that? $25. And then I know it is pre-mixed. So you just gallon of $25. If you have Amazon Prime, it's free shipping.
Right.
So,
Plus you can get it on the road.
yeah, it is Century, CENTURY.
Spencer?
Yes.
The manual refers to a special pump to use to exchange the glycol when you need to change it out every 2 years or so.
Yeah.
Do you need that, or is it possible to just drain it?
You don't need it for, say, the drain location of the boiler. It's not going to get all of the fluid out. So we say you can use that filler, we call it the filler bleeder. Basically what it is 2 SureFlow pumps hooked up in line, and it just forces fluid through the system. We do have some of those, plenty of them at our warehouse, and we do rent them out. And by that, what I mean is we just take a deposit. Once you send it back to us, we just refund your deposit. So if you guys want to do that on yourself, there are some YouTube videos of that on how to do that online already. I can send instructions on how to use the tool properly, or throughout the day, if you need help, give me a call, and I'll definitely walk you through that process.
That's awesome because they're very expensive to buy.
The tool itself, yeah, it retails about $700, $800, I think.
How often should we change our fluid?
The fluid is, since it is a food grade quality product, it is about every 2 to 3 years. We have to use that stuff here in the States. Some information out there for our system, it says that you can use a G13 fluid, which is the same stuff you would find in a brand new Volkswagen. Unfortunately, here in the States, we are mandated that we have to use a food grade, so if it does mix with your fresh water and you ingest it, it's not poisonous. So unfortunately, we are kind of set to the 2 to 3 years is a good rule of thumb, so that we are preventing any corrosion from being built up in our system.
Just a suggestion, you can put it out there
Sure.
for that refill tank.
Mhm.
You can use a Sharpie on those.
Oh, okay. Yeah, for the ones that you can actually easily see.
Repeat the question each time you step on the floor.
Yeah. So Mike was saying a good suggestion would be if you can reach the expansion tank and you can see where the min and max lines are, just go ahead and use a Sharpie and mark that so it's a lot easier to see visually.
On the tank, I found that where you put the little metal sleeve inside it, where the hose and stuff, mine both broke right off.
I think that was fixed at the factory a while ago. What was happening is when the tubes came up and through the piece of wood, it had some tension on it, and obviously after it's being heated and cooled many times.
I replaced the hose. I went to the auto parts store and got a heater hose with a 90 already
Yes.
in it. It works fine, but
Yep.
I had to take machine 2 new sleeves to slide up in there.
Was yours under warranty?
I don't know. I didn't call to find out. Here's the whole problem. the dealership that I bought it off from, they only had 4 or 5 of them and they never got any more in. So I didn't know whether they even would work on them or not.
Yeah.
So I went ahead and fixed it myself. I haven't had no trouble since.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you use like a plastic weld almost to do that, or?
No, I actually took a piece of metal pipe or aluminum pipe and turned 2 new ones much longer and slid them up in so they stuck up inside the reservoir about 1/2 inch.
Huh. Okay.
That solved the problem.
Sure. Oh, sorry, I'll start here and go around this corner.
Right, see, you know my setup.
Yes.
This expansion tank,
Mhm.
where is it? I've only had my tap for like.
I think she has a clamshell. Is it in the bathroom?
In the bathroom.
Bathroom behind the toilet.
Oh,
Yes.
so behind, in that cabinet, I
Yeah.
open that up and I will see the tank, or do I have to search for it?
It's right behind the toilet.
Down below.
Yes.
Towards, a little bit towards the outside wall.
Get it out.
She'll have to use the mirror for that one. She'll have to use the mirror for that one.
Suggestion of using a mirror to see the level of that. Yes.
See the levels, okay.
This gentleman right here.
If you do exchange the fluid every 2 years without using the pump, you said earlier that it won't all drain out.
Correct.
Is that significant? If you're like religious about every 2 years,
I wouldn't think so. Really, the only way to tell would be taking a fluid sample after you've done it and sending it in for analysis to see. It is a little, yeah. There's ways you can tell by the pH level, and there are some tools you can use, a little litmus paper. That those have a very big range though, so they're not extremely accurate. One that I have is I use a digital pH tester, and I got it. You can buy some cheaper ones, but I bought mine for like $100 or $90 or something like that. And when the aluminum inhibitors are being used, that pH level will continuously start dropping. Now with the analysis, they can actually see how much of that inhibitor is still left in the fluid. So it's a lot more accurate to do it that way. Obviously that is a little bit more of a pain, and not everybody's available to go to a chemist or something like that around their area.
What's the pH supposed to be?
What is that?
What's the pH?
I believe on the Century fluid, the pH should be anywhere between a 9.4 or 9.5 to about 10 point, I think 10.5 or 10.4. So that's a pretty good range.
So if it gets below 7, that's bad.
Yes.
It gets below.
And this one right here in the white.
Yeah, apropos they're speaking about the warranty.
Mm-hmm.
How long is the warranty on my old?
So our warranty, direct from factory, is 2 years from your purchase date. I know some people do purchase the trailer and then don't take, ownership of it for months. So what I would do is I would say that your purchase date or the date that we would activate that would be the day you pick your trailer up. What guy in the blue?
Yeah, there seems to be a little controversy about winterizing the Aldi. Some people say don't put antifreeze in the tank. Some people say it's okay. Your manual seems to be conflicting on that. Do you have some advice there?
My suggestion, and all the suggestion normally is to just drain the boiler of fresh water. Then you can use a little compressed air and blow out your lines if you would like. And then at that point, we call that winterized. As long as you don't have any water in your system, you're not at any risk of frost damage. So at that point, you're good to go. You can use, obviously, the RV antifreeze. My thought is that it's just extra time and money out of your guys' pocket and time that is just not necessary.
Well, there's some conversation that the antifreeze would actually damage the boiler.
I don't think so, and I have talked to a couple of people about that over on the phone. And my first thought is the only thing that I could see is as long as it's good for steel, and then it is going to be, if you're going to be using the system, it is going to be heated. So just make sure that it is available to be heated. If it's going to cause anything like that when it's heated, then obviously I would suggest against it. I'll go here and then around.
I heard a recommendation that inexpensive vodka could be used as an I just need to know, is there any potential damage if I use that instead of the RV antifreeze, because they cost about the same, and vodka's easier to come by. And when I demineralize it,
I'm being asked to repeat the question. He's asking if you can use vodka instead of glycol in the system.
Not glycol,
Oh, the RV antifreeze.
RV antifreeze.
Okay.
Our question, actually.
Wouldn't that be our question? I don't know. To be brutally honest, it is.
I don't want to damage it, but I do want to winterize.
Correct.
I can come by my libation more easily.
I would say after your two-year warranty period, try that out and let me know. I honestly have no idea. I mean, it's not going to freeze. I don't know if it's going to cause any corrosion.
We had one person try it.
Oh, really? What was the outcome?
It worked.
It tastes a lot better.
All right, so.
Question also get out of your system, antifreeze or not. You're saying if you bleed it properly, it's not necessary. But is that for people who live where it just hovers at 0, or for us where it goes way, way below 0?
I would say anytime you're getting below 0, below freezing, you're at risk.
I mean, for you, yeah.
Yeah. It depends. There are people that say, well, it's going to be a little bit below freezing, but I'm just going to leave the system on it all the time, so I shouldn't have to worry about it. You don't know if the system will have a fault. You're putting yourself at risk at that point.
I'm talking about a trailer that's winterized, put away, you have no access to it for months with, minus 20 and 30 Celsius.
Is it good enough just to drain the water out of all day?
Yes. It is perfectly fine just to drain the water at any temperature. If you're going to get below freezing, or below 0, I think the 50-50 mix is rated for negative 25, maybe negative 26 degrees. If you're going to go into extreme cold temperatures, they say to raise the percentage of glycol to water ratio to 60% glycol and 40% water. Obviously, you're not going to be able to do that by looking at it. There are some tools that are like $20, $30. I think it's called a hydrometer. Thank you. And that will tell you, just put a little drop of it on this little dial or kind of sight glass, and you look through it, and it'll tell you what your freezing point is at. So if you're thinking about that, I would say just buy that cheap and expensive tool and test it out.
Question here? Yeah. When you're blowing the lines out, what's the maximum pressure?
50 psi.
Yeah, 50 psi. Our boiler itself is rated at 50. Our safety drain valve where you pop to drain the fresh water, that is rated at 50 psi. So I would just recommend being below that.
Okay.
All the way in the back.
We get information that kind of goes back and forth on the running the heat when you're winterized. So if you drain the tank from water and you're winterized, can you still run the heat?
The question was, if you are winterized, can you still run the heat? And that is yes, absolutely. Once you drain the water or have the RV antifreeze, use the system like normal, and it's just going to operate like normal.
Okay, so it can handle the heat from the glycol with no water in it.
Correct. The only thing that we are heating is that glycol. So the water is just there. We're heating all the water off of that glycol temperature. As long as you have glycol in that system, you're good to go. I'll go all the way in the back.
Now, I was told my dealer, if I blow out my lines with air, that I'm going to ruin my mixer valve. And they said that's probably what I did. I ruined the mixer valve. Just jammed that mixer valve up.
I don't know, to be honest. I've never heard of that before. My first guess is maybe the mixing valve just wasn't calibrated properly. I don't know what a little bit of air pressure would have done in there. Because essentially, if you've looked at the mixing valve, when you unscrew it or turn it, adjust it, you're just raising a piece of plastic on threads. So blowing a little air in there, I don't think is going to do anything, personally. But I'm not sure, to be honest. I don't think that you caused any damage to it. I think it was just improperly calibrated. Right here in the Alabama hat.
I think it's really important that people have access to you, because I've heard a lot of people talk about their dealers and my dealer included, I mean, he did not know where to put the spare tire, much less anything about the oil. He wanted to put it in the back somewhere, so he just left it under the bed because he said it was too low. So a lot of dealers know squat about this. You can find out more on YouTube than you can from a dealer. So, I mean, my guys sell boats, and they let me have a trailer between sea trials. And if it hadn't been for online videos, I would know nothing.
Yeah.
And so it's really important that either things are posted on your site, or they have access to you, or you've got YouTube videos. Because don't trust your dealers unless they've got a, that's all they do. You know?
Yeah, the question, really the main question is a lack of trust or lack of information there out on our system at a lot of dealers. I would say that is a thing that we are working on. At this time, I'm kind of in control of that, so I'm trying to build our service location as well as getting more knowledge out there. And that's basically the biggest thing right now is the knowledge. Not too many people know how to work on the system. We are going and doing trainings. I go occasionally out and do trainings as well at different manufacturers, or I've been to dealers personally to do it for their dealership. Unfortunately, with just our manpower for the service side for our product in the US, you're kind of looking at it right now. So it does take a little time. We have hired somebody and we are working on that. That is my main focus, is getting more training out there, because not that I love coming to these things and talking to you guys personally, but there's a lot of people out there, and the more information that I have and more people trained, the less that I have to do. But having this face-to-face interaction is fantastic. You know, I've met a couple of people here that I've talked to on the phone, and I had no idea who they were until they came up. They're like, "Oh, I'm so-and-so. I talked to you on the phone the other month." I was like, "Oh, hey, how's it going?" Sorry,
Are you taking resumes?
Back there then.
Yeah, I got you after. Resumes, that would be above my head.
Yeah.
So, and then I'll come back to you in a second.
I want to follow on the winterization topic. So I've got a drained out unit. I'm in Canada, let's take for instance, or Wisconsin, where I'm really from. And I drain my unit, I blow it out, but it's going to be sitting there for 6 months in the driveway. What is best practice? Should I go out every month and run the system? Because I know that RV antifreeze is basically a slush in there. So I've got a slush of a better glycol water solution that's food grade in my closed loop expandable. Should I run that every month and just get the parts lubricated and up the heat and run through the system, or should I let it sit, best practice, for 6 months till I untake the lid off it again and go somewhere?
I mean, I guess it wouldn't hurt to do that. I don't know if it is going to, because that fluid, I mean, stagnant fluid is always kind of a hit or miss kind of thing, especially with a chemical. So maybe it might be good to do that. I don't know if it is exactly necessary.
Right.
But I would think that it may, by doing that and you're expanding it and running the system and keeping everything, like you explained, lubricated, I mean, it may do some good. I can't say that I would never see anything to justify that actually is doing anything positive, but.
And I have a follow on.
Sure.
For everybody standing up there and around here working that has a blue shirt on it, because I think we all decided that this is a quality product, done by quality people, done in a beautiful community called God's Country, where we all hate. I'm looking at these videotapes running, and I'm figuring, because I'm a smart guy, that you're going to pump out a couple YouTube videos out of this question and answer, so you don't have to pick up the phone as much from all the guys from the nuCamp people.
I'm going to have to, go ahead, sorry.
So that might be what's happening in the background, but I just want to thank all of you for coming out here. You're the only guy in America servicing Aldi, face to face. You came out here and spent your time to promote a product in a vehicle which has quality built around it, and that's why they picked you. And that's why we picked them. I just can't thank them enough for the things that they're doing for us and making sure that our questions are all answered. It's just a beautiful thing. I just wanted to say thank you out loud, all the nuCamp people and all the things they're doing for us here, because we're all retired. We got nothing else to do except
Has ALDA as an organization considered, or maybe they already do, publish a CD or DVD on their system that people could buy and go through it with their leisure and on their own computer at home to understand the system and be able to service it?
There is an app that we have, but that's going to have like manuals, some service locations. There is a YouTube channel called The King of Comfort. It is The King of Comfort, and that is actually made by our team in the UK. They do a lot of stuff based off of the UK system, so you will see a couple of different parts internally that they will have some that are missing that we have. They do some stuff on the US product as well, on how to replace the circuit board, how to replace the combustion fan, things like that. They should have a couple on how to operate the touch screens, but it is good information, but it is still kind of based off of the UK stuff. It is all virtually identical, just some of the settings have a different verbiage, like 1 kW, 2 kW instead of just 1 or 2 for the electricity. And they have a 3 kW because they're running off of 210 instead of 110, or 220 I should say. So there are some subtle differences, but it is, if you are just trying to figure out or take a look inside the boiler, there is some good information out there and good videos that you can see.
Thank you.
We'll go here and then these three.
So I snowbirded, and then I came home to New York, and for like 7 days straight at night it went down below freezing. I went and made sure that my Aldi, every time inside was below 50, that the Aldi system would go on. Was that enough?
Yes, as long as it's going to stay above 50 or what, 32.
Well, so if it went to like 22 outside, as long as I had my Aldi set to hit.
Yeah, even at 40, at the lowest setting on our screen goes to 41. So even if it's set there, that is still, it should keep your trailer above freezing, or our system above freezing, so you should have no issue at all.
Thank you.
I understand the 320 has high altitude
Correct.
device. If you want to talk about that. And the second part is, can you give us a little history about what happened with the 310 and why wasn't that device included in this country?
Her question is about the high altitude mode on the 320. The high altitude mode came out, and it obviously the high altitude issue was the higher you go in the elevation, the less air that's in the atmosphere. There was nothing in our system telling the propane to cut back at all. So we were having a very rich mixture of air-fuel ratio, and it was running rough. The layman term is ALDA freight train, I believe. It does make quite a bit of rattle and ruckus, and all it's doing is it's running extremely rich. So one of the fixes that we have from nuCamp is they added an extra propane regulator in line, and that dropped the gas pressure down low enough to where it actually operates normal. The other question of that was, why is the high altitude mode not brought into the 3010? I believe it's because they were just wanting to just kind of wave the 3010 out and go just stock everything with the 3020. You know, the 3020 has been out for a while in the UK, and I think originally they just wanted to get something certified here for the States, so they brought the 3010 because it was tested and true and a quality product instead of having a lot of issues. So they just left the 3020 out in the UK market to run through all the testing and find all the little small faults, do all the software updates and stuff like that. And now we brought it over to the US. So the high altitude mode I didn't really explain it. What that is doing is it's actually just increasing the fan speed. So what we're losing is air because we're going high. So all we're doing is increasing the fan speed to bring more air in to compensate for that. So go ahead.
Is the high altitude modification on the 3010 actually lowers the amount of propane being delivered to the all day, and it can still run without problem on that?
Yes.
At lower elevation?
Yes. Okay. From what I've heard, everybody that I've heard that has had that installed has had good things about it. A couple people that I've had said that they're having issues at like 8,000 feet, and then they installed that high altitude and went over 10,000, and it ran perfectly fine. So everything that I've heard from people say that it's a fantastic fix.
So what year would that have been installed?
The
3020.
The 3020, I don't remember the exact product when the 3020 started being installed in the factory. Any 3020 has that high altitude mode. 3010s don't have the high altitude. That's why you would need that extra propane regulator. So if you guys have a 3020 at all, you guys already have that high altitude mode built in.
I believe it was late 2018 that 3020 was installed. Late 2018.
So
I think.
late 2018 is when the 3020 was installed.
I believe 17.
If you have a
17. 17.
If you have a 3010 and you were expecting to go to high altitude camping, I would suggest it, yes.
Who should install it?
Here
or at the dealer?
I've had a dealer install it. I've done one myself. The instructions that they have are very simple. I'm sure these guys do it at the factory all the time as well.
Your partner was correcting you on the date. You meant late 2017.
17, yeah.
Yeah,
That's my
that
bad.
one.
We live in the future.
Yeah, late 2017s is when those 3020s were installed.
This is the, could you say what this is called? How we order it?
If you call the nuCamp, I believe is all you ask for is the high altitude kit, or the ALDA high altitude kit, and they should probably know exactly what you're talking about.
It's 55 bucks.
And the cost of that is $55. I think this guy had a question.
I just have, it's kind of an Aldi question. Don, I want your opinion on, I see some of the later models in the back. We just have a simple board and then the Aldi glycol area on the right-hand side. I was wondering, on the later models, they built that in for storage a little bit. Mine has some venting along the board on the vertical board. Now, would it be okay if I were to build in some storage in there? Or would there be, am I thinking of there's going to be heat distribution problems because of doing that, you think? I guess that's more of a company question, but.
Yeah, if you could do that when we change that, the heat, instead of coming out through the vertical piece, it comes up along the side, along the ceiling now.
Behind there.
Yeah, so if you build something in there, it has to have a space about a ½ inch maybe.
And that
so
would
that
be okay, and as long as I don't put ice cream in there, it'd be fine.
Candles.
I have an electrical question for probably you two guys. You've already said it's not on your end. On the bottom of my 320 CSS, on the driver's side, there's a solenoid, and I think it's for when you turn the Aldi on, it allows the propane to go to it. So it seems like it's where the junction where the hose goes to the stove, the Aldi, and all that little distribution point. So my point is most solenoids have two functions: it pulls and holds. So it's either a valve that's open, a valve that's closed. Is ultimately what you're going for. This particular solenoid gets so hot you can't touch it. So in my manufacturing world that I work in, most solenoids that I work with, when they get that hot, it's a problem for us. So if there's somebody that can come by and take a look at that for me, I'd appreciate it, because I'd sure hate for my camper to catch on fire because of this silly thing getting so hot.
That solenoid's actually just cuts off the gas to your stove. You have the clamshell?
Yes.
In the back, yeah. So RVIA requires us to put that switch in there, so when you have your burners turned on and you close your hatch door, so you don't burn your trailer down. So if you look on the strut on the side, as soon as you close that door, it'll cut the gas to the stove.
Okay.
And they do get hot because they have power when they're open. and that's because your trailer's going to be closed more than it's open when you storage and stuff like that. So then when you have it open, it will get hot. We tested one. I got to 175. I guess the propane, what did they call it? The flash point or something is like 878 or something like that. So I know we had a few that were hotter than that that we replaced that I think that they were bad. But if it, I mean, 178 is going to be too hot to touch. So
Is this particular solenoid pulling the 12 volts? Is that what it's running on?
Yes, 12 volt, yeah. On a 12 volt system.
So in this case, in a boondocking situation, it's to my benefit to keep that clamshell shut, because otherwise that thing's running.
Yeah, it doesn't draw much. I don't even, David, did you check that, or was that, how much is that drawing?
I don't know how much voltage, it's not drawing a lot of voltage, and your temperature should be fine.
It's very few amps. Like it's not a huge consumption, but I still get it when you're boondocking. Every little thing matters.
Everything counts, and
but yeah, if you close it, then it'll be off. It won't be.
Just kind of look at that for me, because otherwise I'm going to put a switch on it until it's shut.
Yeah.
So when the clamshell's shut, it's not drawing any.
It's off. There's no power when it's shut, and that's why you can get one that's open or closed. You can get two different ones, and we picked this one because for the most part the door's going to be closed more than open, because you have it in storage, and then it would be hot all the time.
Well, we're out here showing off our kitchens, and they're open for days straight.
Do you want me to run to the questions? You got a guy right there. Got a guy right there.
Back
Yeah.
to the winterizing. There's more to winterizing than just clearing out the algae of water and air. The rest of the camper needs to be winterized. Can you go through that a little bit too? Like the gray tank and the black tank and any water in those lines?
Yeah, so there's instructions in the manual too. I know they're not as specific as some people want them, but like on the tab, like S and everything, there's specific positions you want all the valves to be in. You want to, drain the trailer, and then you want to run RV antifreeze through the system. But we recommend, you have winterization mode, and then you have camping season mode. So after you drain everything, you want to put it in winterization mode, which bypasses the Aldi. And that's when you run, all the RV antifreeze, through the system. A lot of people will put just RV antifreeze into the fresh water tank, and then they'll turn the pump on just so it runs it through the lines. A lot of people just, run it directly into the pump, take the, through the PEX side, just so you don't have to use so much RV antifreeze. I would still probably, put a little bit of RV antifreeze into the freshwater tank. You got to put some in the traps. I think it's like half a gallon into the shower drain, and quarter gallon into the sinks and stuff like that. So does that answer your question? Okay.
I do have a suggestion for future manuals. A diagram would be much easier to see than those photographs.
Gotcha.
There's just so much there, and the blue and the red look so much similar in the photograph, and a diagram would be better than the photograph.
He suggested a diagram for winterization. I know we've talked about, a numbering system for the valves themselves at times. I don't know, and suggestions, we love suggestions, and we have a designated tech email, and that's what that's for. And questions, anytime you guys are having an issue and you need troubleshooting, it goes directly to Marvin, and it goes directly to me. It's a shared email. So, and it should be in your welcome packets, that email address. There's also a line, a phone number to me at the office. So anytime you have suggestions or questions, you can get a hold of me there, and it doesn't go unheard. We want to listen to you guys as much as possible. We want to get better every day, because you guys are out there doing it, on the weekends, and you're experiencing it firsthand. So, yeah, definitely. Yes.
So when it comes to winterizing the freshwater lines, your faucets,
I know you're recommending putting the RV antifreeze in all the traps. Do you recommend at least filling those lines once with RV antifreeze and then possibly blowing them out?
Filling the lines once with RV antifreeze?
Yeah, just flushing them out, make sure there's no water, plain water in them.
Yeah, you want to definitely run RV antifreeze through all the, all the water lines. Those are where you're going to have the most risk of any water damage, because water will expand when it freezes. So if you have any water in the lines and you go below freezing, that's where you're going to have, damage. And if you have a water line that's, below, the shower or anything like that, and it busts, that can be a pretty big fix.
I took mine to my dealer last year to show me how to do all that, and they did that. They took the pump apart and hooked the hose onto it and pumped it right out of the bottle. But they didn't drain my main tank. And my main tank stayed totally full of water all winter last year.
Really?
And it didn't freeze or break.
Okay.
So they do hold up, but it's probably not recommended.
It's not recommended. It is definitely recommended to drain your tanks. The freshwater tank on the tab would be directly below the entry steps. The tag would be below the sink. You just pull that T handle up. And then on the 400, it's nice because you have that little baggage door that opens up to the mixing valve, and then all 3 drain valves right there.
There's all 3 drain valves plus the main tank valve underneath the trailer.
Correct. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, so is it harmful if RV, if you don't turn the valves to shut off the valve? Is it harmful if the antifreeze goes and runs through the Aldi? It's not harmful, okay.
Yeah. She asked if it's harmful if it runs to the Aldi, the RV antifreeze. Spencer, I mean, it's not harmful.
You just want to get it flushed out before
You just want to flush it out before you run the Aldi again, especially if that RV antifreeze isn't meant to heat up. Which is why, like on the 400, we have that bypass switch. Makes it real easy, as well as on the truck campers. On the tabs, it's a little bit more difficult because you have, certain valves you have to switch. And there's pictures on the owner's manual, but it is a little bit more time consuming on the tab.
Just mark the valves in the unit itself, as opposed to having a picture of it over here. Because, so I can just take the cover off
Like
and say,
drain
oh, flip
construction.
this and flip that.
Could you guys label the valves?
Yeah, label the valves.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
One thing that we want to do in the near future is actually create some YouTube videos for you guys actually doing the winterization. Because you look in there and there's 5 valves in there, and it can be very intimidating if you don't know where they go to. So we're going to be working on doing some YouTube videos showing you how each model is winterized, and that way you can just watch them. Go ahead.
The dealer we bought ours from in Madison, Wisconsin is really good with the trailers. And when we bought ours, being unsure of the winterization and de-winterization in the Aldi system, I took it to them for winterization and then de-winterization. And each time I took it to them, I took it home and lifted the seat and took lots of pictures where the valves were. And then when they de-winterized it, I did the same. And so I've got big color pictures of where the valve should be. And if you've got a good dealer, they'll show you how to do that, and you can take pictures of it, because that's easier than trying to look in a schematic or look in a black and white photograph, because it's all right there. And they did it, so it had to be what they were studied under, and that helped immensely.
Would you consider labeling the valves in the factory while you're building it?
We've talked about it. I know that there's actually a guy here that has his all labeled nice.
We did it, but
oh, that was you?
No, we did it on our own, but could that be done at the point of construction?
That would reduce a lot of anxiety, I think.
It's either, yeah, we've talked about doing that, putting labels on each one, or maybe trying to incorporate the same bypass valve that we use on the 400, which is just one single valve. On behind you.
On the 320, over by the step and the door, what is that brass valve for underneath the drain?
Underneath by the step, that's to drain the freshwater tank.
Fresh water?
Yes.
Okay. I couldn't figure it out.
You good? You? Yeah.
Brief question, dumb question, maybe first. So I know you blow out the air in the Audi. Where do you put the air in to blow out the Audi system? I'm not sure what relation with the hose.
It would be in the city water. Fill.
Oh, you
On the,
that'll go through everything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought it had a separate valve. I couldn't figure it.
It won't go through the pump though, so pump still needs some work.
Yeah, because the pump is actually a built-in check valve in it, so you can't. It doesn't blow the water pump. You can't blow water or air through it. But.
So you should disconnect it on both sides.
Disconnect the pump.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people do. Yeah.
I wanted to do the follow-up on the Wisconsin thing. That's Jerry's in Madison, Wisconsin. One of the things from us non-engineering guys, but nuCamp sales support for your dealers. That dealer every year in October has a come in, free food, potluck, and does a winterization seminar with all their clients. So if you've forgotten in the last 6 months how to winterize your unit, you go in, you have a free sandwich. He shows you how to do it on each of the different units, and then gives you a free sandwich, and you might buy some stuff from them when you're in there, and then walk out with some trinkets, and then come back again.
You usually do walk out with something.
From a sales support guy, Jerry's, his younger son Dave, and Dan takes me out. He goes, "Don't come to the seminar, have a sandwich, but then bring your camper in. I'll show you exactly how to do it on your specific camper." To me, what I've heard from a lot of people is not all dealer support is the same. You know.
But Jerry's is incredible.
But Jerry's in Madison, Wisconsin is pretty darn good. I'll give you his card. So that's
Preston. I'll let you do it. Okay. You had a question?
Gentlemen, we've got a 2018 tag, and the white freshwater tank on there. And on ours, the pump pickup tube is about an inch and a half above the floor of the tank. And I know that's been a problem with the draining. I've managed to do a fix offline from the nuCamp forum that gets me down to about maybe a quarter or two. Okay, but my real question, while we're talking about this draining for the winter, I know where my little valve is. I pop that little valve up and it should, in theory, drain the water out of the tank. Because that pickup tube is still elevated, obviously I pump as much of it out as I can, and then I pull that tube up to drain it the rest of the way. But will it drain all of it, or most of it, or enough of it that if it freezes?
You were not going to be able to get everything out. That's been a topic.
I know.
In our shop too. The tank is actually only a 10-gallon tank. We thought for a while it was 11-gallon tank. I don't know where that came from. So, so it's actually you can get about a little over 9. Was it 8 or 9 gallons out of it? Out of it when you're pumping, and then what happens is you'll get a little bit of a vortex. You know, because the pump sucks pretty hard, so you'll get a vortex and then you'll start sucking air and you will lose it. But when you're draining, if you tip your trailer up as far as you can, you'll probably get everything but maybe a 3/4 gallon out of it. And then if you drop it back down where you can still drain the water out of the hose or out of the pipe that comes out of the tank, so there's no water sitting in there, you'll be fine. It's not going to ruin anything to have a little bit of water in there.
Yeah, who cares if it freezes? It's not going to expand beyond the size of the tank.
And the PEX pipe that we use is actually rated to freeze solid and not ruin. I wouldn't recommend it, but it is actually designed to withstand a freeze.
So if the water freezes in there with
the elbows and fittings not so much for the pipe.
If the water freezes in there with just a little bit of water in there, it's just going to move up.
Yeah,
it's not going to be a problem.
It's not going to be a problem. You back there? Yes.
I'm changing the setting. The black, I have a 400 and the black tank flush. Do you keep the valve open when you're flushing the tank, or do you close it and put the water in through the?
You're talking about her question was on the 400, the black tank clean out. There's a clean out flush. You'll probably know more about that than I do, Steve.
It's got a spray inside the tank, so therefore we just leave it open.
Her question was the gate. You're asking about the valve to drain the tank, right? If you leave that open or closed.
To close it to clean the tank, or open it?
Either way, but what you're doing when you've got the spray on, you're just, if you have it drained, you're spraying the contents into the drain.
Okay.
So you just want to get rid of it as it's being sprayed.
Yeah, because if I closed it, I wasn't sure how much water to put in it. And I didn't want anything.
Yeah, well, all you're doing then is you're doing the same thing, just filling up the tank with water, and then you're hoping
Go for a while.
Whereas if you have
Gotta
spray,
hit the questions again. Probably should try to get back to it. Yeah, there we can. Yeah, we'll do one more and then I'm gonna try to get these done.
Since we're talking about draining,
I'll get two more.
Is there an optimum orientation for your trailer to drain the gray and the black tank to get as much out of there as possible?
You'll want to have it tilted towards the front. You want to lower the front end a little bit.
Nose down.
Yeah, nose down.
And does it matter side to side?
Mostly, not really. No.
So, okay.
No.
So if I'm in a dump station, I might have to put my back end up on blocks.
Or yeah, just lower your front end, your jack. Just lower with the jack in the front.
Yeah, but if I'm hooked up and I drive to the dump
Oh,
station.
yeah. Sorry. Yeah, you could put it up. It's not too big of a deal. I wouldn't worry about raising it that much if you release it. And I would release the black tank first and then the gray water tank, and you should be fine.
Toured the other night and found out that the newer cabs have an outdoor shower. I have a 2015 Max S. Is that backfittable?
Yeah, you can add an exterior shower to it. Not quite sure the whole process. The repair shop does them all the time, but it is definitely possible. Yep. I'm going to move on to these questions that were submitted, and then afterwards you guys can do some more free-for-alls. So, just want to make sure I get these covered. Somebody asked about the drain valves on all the ACs on the units. 400, 320 tag. On the tab S and the U, you have the AC that sits up, and the drain for that is actually, it'd be towards you and on the right side. So, like on the shower wall. So you actually want to, if you can, you want to have your front end down a little bit just to help that drain faster. I mean, you always want to be level, but if anything, maybe have your front end down just a little bit. On the 400, you have that big grill on the side as well as the clamshells. You're going to see two little holes at the bottom of the grill. There's a pan that sits underneath the AC. That pan fills up and then it drains out of those two little holes. So if you ever see water kind of on the side of your unit below that grill, that's the AC draining. Gotcha. You don't see any water ever? Okay.
It all comes up the pipe in the bottom.
gray tank?
Every bit of it. And he's just draining like it should.
No, I used to stick like a chopstick. When I had a Dutchman, I now don't, but I used to stick a chopstick up to see if there was any debris stuck in it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the water, whatever water did get trapped in there would then move out and
Gotcha.
it would work. So I would imagine it would work on the 320.
Sometimes debris can get, inside of that. Uh-oh.
Or
It's dead.
Or a very thin bottle brush will fit in there too. And you
Mm-hmm.
stick it in and pull it down. And sometimes a lot of water comes out and sometimes nothing.
Sometimes debris can get stuck in that drain plug in like the tab S, the AC it sits up front. So you can actually access that drain plug if you take off the mirror, if you have a shower, and you can actually see inside of there to see if, there's any debris up in there. You can also, slide the AC out and just check for debris in there. Go ahead.
Where did you say the clamshell outlet was located if you're facing the air conditioner on the inside of the trailer?
The drain outlet. So there's going to be two little holes that actually sit that are drilled like down on the bottom side of the grill. There's a pan that sits underneath the AC, and you know it'll eventually drain out of those two holes.
From the inside.
It's from the inside. Well, it'll drain out of the outside of the grill, but there's a pan underneath on the inside. So, go ahead.
The drain for the S-Max,
Yes.
can you see an exit under through the floor?
You can. There's going to be a clear tube it's going to be close to the driver's side wheel. You're going to be able to see a clear drain tube.
It's actually inside the frame rail, though.
It's inside the frame rail, so you're going to have to crawl underneath there to see it. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Anybody else?
New to trailering, how often do you have to grease the wheel bearings?
Oh, yeah.
Grease the wheel bearings. Dexter, the axle company, they recommend every 12,000 miles. So every 12,000 or yearly. So
12,000 or yearly?
I would just say every 12,000. Yeah. Yep. Next question was how to prime the pump. This may happen after you drain everything. You're ready to, you're out of winterization mode. You're ready to get camping again. With the Tab 400, or any unit with a toilet, if you flush the toilet, that can actually help prime the pump. If you don't have a toilet, you can remove the, you dump water on the PEX side of the pump, and that should help. Because sometimes, you know, when all the lines are dry, the pump can, you know, have some issues getting primed as well.
Did you just say the PEX side of the pump?
Yeah.
Did you describe what a PEX side of the
Yeah.
pump is?
It's-
I'm picturing muscles.
Yes, that was my
Where the water comes in. Where the water comes in.
Up there.
Yeah. Basically where the water.
So the filter side.
The filter side where the water comes in. Yeah.
The PEX is the kind of pipe we use.
Sorry.
Yeah.
The intake side of the pump or the?
Yeah.
Yes, the intake side of the pump. So the side where the filter would be on. That clear filter cap on that side. You can literally just remove that pipe and then just pour water inside of there. There should be a
Use a turkey baster.
yeah. Go ahead.
One of the things with the 400, I'm priming it when I found, when I had it totally drained, and what I found, which kind of scared me a second, but before I ever started the pump, I thought, well, to get the air out, I'll just crack the kitchen sink to the cold water, just crack it, and then the hot water in the bathroom sink. And as soon as I opened up those valves, without the pump on, you can hear the water just rushing. I got very little air out by letting it keep running until the flow stopped on it, the natural flow stopped. And the trailer was pretty well level.
Gotcha.
That's a little trick that I found.
Opening the faucets. So yeah. That is another trick.
The world of different pumps, a lot quieter, much air to get out.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You can open the faucets like he said, and that's another way to, get all the air out of the lines. There can be a lot of pressure inside of there. Next is freshwater tank locations. It'd be nice if we had a whiteboard to kind of draw this up, but
Probably got it when they saw the tour.
yeah, you guys probably saw the tank locations on the tour, right?
No, none of them were at that stage.
None of them were at that stage. Okay.
Tab, centered over the axle.
Okay.
Yeah, it's centered front to back, and the fresh water is on the right side, correct?
Freshwater be on the right side of the tab. Yep, you got it. Tag would obviously be, in the back. You can see it there. 400 would be behind the wheel on the left side. It actually sits, it goes the other way. The tab will actually run perpendicular to or parallel to the trailer, facing forward. The 400 will be opposite.
Can you use the term passenger side and driver side for
Sure.
the inside? Because right and left, if you're on the outside,
Sure.
it's one way. If you're on the inside,
I will gladly do that, yep.
That's the way that we've.
Door side or passenger side?
Yeah, driver side or
Sure.
passenger side, so that makes it clear as to where things are.
Unless you're in England.
Another important thing about tank locations, like on the Tab 320, is where the black tank is. I don't have the sheet with me, but I have all the weights that certain certain tanks will add to your tongue weight. Certain accessories, like the black tank, will add 30 pounds to your overall tongue weight. So if you're getting close to that, to the max recommended tongue weight on your trailer, and you have a full black tank, I would release that before you start traveling. And we recommend, no more than 15% of the overall dry weight on your tongue. So that's something to look out for.
These two, you can just skip. I can get those one
Okay.
out the demonstration.
Somebody asked for a wiring layout of all the units. I would love to draw that for you right now, or Marvin, but no. Solar maintenance information. There really isn't too much you have to do to the solar panels to maintenance them. I guess, keeping the solar panels clean will help maximize performance with the solar panels. That's basically it. I'm sure everybody knows this isn't maintenance, but everybody knows about the app that you can get for the solar panels. That way, like in the Tab 320s, you don't have to open up the seating area every time you want to look at what the solar panel is doing. We have that app information if anybody wants it. That's basically it for solar panel
I have a question.
maintenance. Yes.
What solvents may I or shouldn't I use on the solar panel? If I want to
Solvents
keep it- What?
to keep it clean.
So just water.
I would just use soap and water when you're cleaning your unit. Yeah.
And the name of that application, I think it's grapesolar.com. You have to send a quick-
It's a different name. It's
Tell me the name.
Zhang or something like that. I can.
Let's just we'll post information on the face, maybe on the uCamp Facebook page or something. Then
For the iPhone and for the Android, it's two different names on their app stores.
Thank you.
Future storage options on all the units. That's an R&D thing. I am not sure what they're going to be changing as far as storage with the units. So.
What about putting a cover over your unit in the winter?
Putting a cover over a unit over the winter. Yeah, there's some great options. All Pro Adventures was started by Joe Mollett, same gentleman who started nuCamp. He has some great, covers that you can put on your unit, especially made for Tab 400s. I believe there's a Tab 400. There's a Tag. They're not going to scratch your paint. They're very soft, and then they're breathable, so they won't capture moisture either. Yeah. Next.
Would you recommend them, or would it be okay to store it outside?
If you're storing it outside, I would definitely recommend some type of cover. I mean, if I had one, outside, definitely.
The name
Yeah.
again, please?
All Pro Adventures.
Adventures.
For all seasons or just for when it's in the winter?
Can you elaborate on that question?
It's up to you. Kind of like a car. If you have a car outside
to spark everybody's
and it's over the winter, I would store it. That. Also, sun damage. Those covers can help with sun damage. To keep that. Somebody asked about lens cover for porch lights. A lot of people feel like the porch lights are pretty bright. There are amber colored porch lights available now. I don't know the price off the top of my head, but they are available. $16. Okay. If you contact parts at nuCamp RV, they will have those available for you.
We did an experiment on a trailer here. We put 2 layers of Kapton tape. That's called Kapton.
Kapton tape.
You can get it
Tape.
from an electronic supplier.
Hmm.
And so for $1 a foot, you can do 2 layers on a light. You just maybe get this bug light.
Okay.
No screwdriver needed.
And the name again?
Kapton, Kapton.
Kapton tape. Okay.
You can get the same thing at an auto parts store called tail light repair.
Tail light repair.
Tail light lens repair.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of great stuff like at Napa and everything like that. I don't know, too much of the aftermarket parts, but.
I just want to go back to the solar panel maintenance.
Mhm.
We just received our 400 just a few months ago, and we were camping in a state park right under these pine trees with pine sap, and we knew that was really the enemy. So we didn't even have a ladder. We didn't know what we could do. And so what we did was we had sheets with us because we had our grandkids camp with us before we left, and they were still in the trailer. So John rigged up strings, and he's 6'2", and I'm 5'2", and we're inching across. And the nice part was we were able to tie them down by the handles, and it kept the sap on.
And to cover the solar panels. Yeah, definitely that's a great idea to prevent the sap from covering it, so you don't have to end up cleaning it later. And yeah.
What is the output voltage on that on a day like today? The output voltage on the 320, okay, with a factory installed system. I've got a meter in one of my 12-volt sockets, and it keeps going up to 19 volts.
Do you know off the top of your head?
14.4 should be the max for an
That's what you should have on the battery.
Right.
But what's the output of that unit?
Oh, it could be higher than that, 22 volts. It doesn't matter, the controller's been regular.
I'm not too sure what the maximum output on that. It's a 100 watt solar panel, but I'm not sure.
Because the plug in my galley in my kitchen appears to be plugged directly into the solar panel because it's going up over 19 volts instead of staying at the battery.
Yeah, that wouldn't be.
I had 3 units that were wired backward when they came to our dealership. I reversed the wires and they worked right.
Okay.
I don't know what your problem might be, though.
That-
I'd be happy to look at it with you.
That's Patsy and Preston from Miller Trailer Sales. Awesome people, very knowledgeable. So
thank you.
Yes.
On the, we've got a 2015 Max S, and on the flap door that you put fresh water in, to the freshwater tank, is there, I thought I saw on the forum at one time that you could buy a cover for that, a locking cover, so some nefarious person can't dump stuff into your fresh water when you're not around. And I was wondering, has that ever been approached? Has that idea ever been approached?
Have you guys ever talked about it?
On our truck camper and the tag and the 400, I think all 3 of those have a locking door for the city water, and the freshwater tank fill are both in the locking compartment. Not quite sure why we've not done it to the 320 yet. I'm thinking we probably will.
In today's world, there's so many weird things happening. People could do that, and you wouldn't even know about it. So I'll ask Austin if they're retrofitable.
No, like I say, if it's a shower unit, I think it's going to be a little bit tougher because you don't have a lot of space between the shower wall and your roof. So that might be part of the reason that we have not integrated it into the 320 yet.
I just have a quick question on the screen covering for the Fantastic fan and the ceiling. I need to take mine out, like to clean it. Does that actually snap out?
Yep. You have to pull real hard.
Yeah. Her question was if the screen on the Fantastic fan, if you can take it off to clean it, and yes, you kind of just pull on it a little bit and it'll pop right out.
Yeah, I'm afraid of it.
And you have to pull harder than you think you ought to.
Yeah, you have to pull like you think it's going to break, and then it'll pop loose.
Scary.
A little recess where you have your fingers in it.
Yeah, but I'd have to mark
This appears to be a question about the fan.
Okay.
Is it just pull out? You can't hurt it by pulling it on, right?
No, you could if, you know, there's always a possibility. There's little teeth that hold onto the screen on the around all the way around it. So if you kind of start on one end, you just kind of pull down on it. As soon as one of the teeth pops loose, the whole thing just comes
It's
out.
not that you have to be at a particular position.
No, you just basically just yank on it.
So, as a follow-on, if I may, the fan on the air conditioner on the Danby, which of course you can't take out because there's only that much room.
No.
Tuck that side.
You can.
You can't have.
Just when you pull on it, you just bend it. That's
Bend it out?
That screen's plastic with a screen in it, so yeah.
Break anything.
No.
And now the AC fan. Is that commonly used? You only need that at a particular time?
When it's really hot outside, because the air conditioner exhausts through the sidewall, and it also is designed to bring in the fresh air on the sides of the same hole on the side. Well, if it gets really hot, it tends to want to suck in its own exhaust. So we put that fan on the top to bring in fresh air to help it cool down.
Accelerates the fresh air inside.
Yes, it pulls it down through the roof, and then it helps cool down a lot better.
I've heard some rumors that nuCamp's looking at redoing the 320. Can you elaborate in the future what these changes may be?
A little bit, just as much as I know, because I don't know a lot of it. The question was the redesign on the 320 in the future, and we're working on. I can't give you specifics because I don't have any, but it will be pretty much a total redesign on the inside. The cabinetry is going to be different. There's probably I know one thing we're looking at is doing an AC unit that sits underneath the seats instead of up on the wall or wherever, on the shower unit. The other thing is redesigning the ABS trim on the outside. The whole trim package on the outside is going to look a little bit different. Same concept, hopefully a little bit better product, a little bit better as far as it'll probably be a little bit bigger, no cracking, hopefully. So yeah, the two main things will be the cabinetry will all look different, and well, maybe not all look different, but it will look different. The what? Oh, and then the entry door will probably change to what the 400 has now. And then another thing, we have one other thing that we have in the works, and I think Scott touched a little bit maybe on when he had your tour. It's the 25-footer European style that we're coming out with. But yeah, those two are really excited to get that one out, and then the 320 redesign's very exciting.
Just maybe one question on tire pressure. There seems to be a difference of opinion on what recommended tire pressures are on the different models. I know there's a placard on there that gives you the cold tire pressure, but that's probably a fully loaded tire pressure. Do you have recommendations for optimal tire pressures?
The question was on what the tire pressure should be. I really don't know, because it seems everybody kind of has their own preference on what they.
The tire will have a maximum pressure and a top maximum.
Yeah, on the tire it is stamped on the tire what your cold and hot pressure is, and I've had people that they want to be right at the max, and others want a little bit smoother ride. Obviously if you overinflate it, you're going to wear your tire out, and if you underinflate it, you're going to wear your tire. So you kind of want to be close to what their recommendations are in there, but it could vary.
400, it says 50 is the cold tire pressure. I'm setting mine about 46.
Yeah.
Because of expansion on a hot day.
Yeah.
Generally, tire manufacturers from the automotive side of business, they recommend 3 to 4 pounds less than what the max is, so that you can account for expansion, but no more than that.
Yeah. He was saying that car manufacturers usually say 3 to 4 under the max, so that'll give you some space for expansion.
Tires need to be checked when they're cold and not while you're out on the highway and pull off and check them real quick, because the air in the tires heats up and the moisture molecules that in that air will heat up and expand. So always make sure that when you check the tires, check them in the morning before you hit the road. Okay, it's very important to do that, because if you do it when they're hot, you're going to get a false reading.
Up to 1 mile even.
So-
After they've been parked.
His comment was, when you check your tire pressure, check them when they're cold. You'll get a better reading or more accurate reading on it.
I had a quick question about the 400. The frame, there's oval cutouts in it, and some people have had problems with critters making nests, etc.
Yeah.
And I've seen some fixes where they're putting a gutter guard and self-tapping screws. Is there a reason why those openings are there, or is it okay to cover it up?
I'm not sure why. I'm sure there's a reason why they're there.
Probably just for weight.
Probably weight, yeah, probably cut down the weight, but to cover it like that, I don't see a problem in it.
Could you repeat that?
Oh, sorry. The question was on the 400, on the chassis, you can see oval holes, and I think maybe the Tab 320 might have some too, on the side of the chassis. And there's people that actually, Mandy Lee that was here, she had a gopher in there and she couldn't get it out. So they will have critters getting in there, you know, rabbits jump up in there, whatever. And so she said she saw someone put a piece of gutter guard, which is basically a piece of netting or whatever, and fastened it with self-tapping screws. And I think the holes are probably there to cut down on the weight.
And to increase the strength, they roll in.
Yeah, because they are
more
rolled in, it
strength.
gets more strength. So.
Piece of part that they can make something
Real
else.
quick one, it looks like you that's question here. So, quick Aldi question for you. We've tried adjusting the temperature on ours, and it seems like all we get is 50 shades of lukewarm. So,
On the mixing valve itself?
yeah, can you actually get really good hot water?
Yes. I mean, you can. Did you jump the stopper, or did you just go max?
Just back and forth.
Okay. So there's two stopping points. There's a stopping point on the inside of that black cap, and then there's a stopping point on the brass valve itself. Where those two meet, obviously you can't full turn it over and over and over. What you can do is that little screw that's on the top of that, you can just loosen that, and I'm hearing that you don't even have to take the screw all the way out, and you can just lift it up, jump it over that stopping point, put it back down and do another full turn, positive or negative or whichever way you need to go.
Wow. Okay.
Just be careful, that is spring loaded, and I don't know where it's at right now. So I have heard people, if they go too far, exactly. And if the system is hot, you have a potential of 150 plus degree water coming right at you. So just be very careful. Do it when it's cold. Any more from me or you? Question?
No, it's
Okay.
Go ahead.
So I'm going back to tires. Two questions. One, I have a 2018 320. Do I have passenger or trailer tires on it for when it's time to replace them? I wanted to know that. And two, I noticed you have nitrogen in it. Can I, when I leave in the morning, when I check my tires before I leave, if they're low, can I add air and mix that in with the nitrogen?
Yes. The air is what percent nitrogen? 78. The whole idea of it is nitrogen molecules are bigger. Am I correct on that? And so if you have a small leak, it won't leak as much. But you can put air in it.
Okay, and do I have passenger tires or do I have trailer tires on my 2018?
Trailer. That would be trailer tires.
So when I go to replace them, do I have to replace them with trailer tires,
Yes.
or can I replace
Yes.
them with?
Trailers.
Use trailer tires. There's 6-ply tires, so that's a real benefit. Out of all the rentals we've done, and I'm talking probably 80 to 100,000 miles, we've never had a customer with a flat tire on the trailer tires.
Okay.
Do you need to rotate from the
right and left.
from the,
Side to
well,
side.
yes, but there's the spare tire. So do you need to get that spare tire in the mix as well?
I don't recommend putting the spare tire in the mix because most of the time it's on a steel wheel. So just rotate the alloy wheels.
How often
Okay.
do you recommend rotating?
12,000 miles or whenever you do the bearings.
Okay.
All the way at the back.
Not more tire questions, because I had a A-liner and the tire blew out while I was driving it. So Is there any restriction on the speed limit of the tires you have on your trailers? I have 320. And
I don't
also,
know.
I see some people cover their tires while they're parked. Is there any reason for doing that?
Tires, more like a trailer speed limit.
Yeah, well, it makes it look pretty, but it's also, there's sun deterioration over a long period of time. The rubber molecules break down, and that's why people cover them if they're storing them for a long period of time.
Could you hear that answer back there? Okay. So the cover is when you're storing it or you have it out in the sun a long time. If you cover them, you'll cut down on the deterioration from sun exposure and just weather exposure to it. The speed limit, I don't do tires. What, just pedal to the metal?
100 is your limit there.
That's how I drive my car, so you know.
It's marked on the tire.
There should be a rating on the tire for your speed.
That's why you see people on the side of the road, because they heat the sidewall up and the tire will blow up. But 65's a nice speed.
That guy's been holding his hand up for quite a while.
Yeah.
You know, as far as the trailer itself.
The law used to be 55 miles an hour.
For the most part, the speed limit is good. I've noticed some of them, like the boondock that's just leaving out there, those are sitting a little bit higher, and depending on what you have on the back. Like if you have your some luggage on the back, and not enough weight on the tongue. And then if you're light on the front, then you can get some fishtailing to it. So it's some in how you load them, and it's also on what tow vehicle. I had one of our dealers calls, and he had a customer buy a boondock tab 320, and he was pulling it with I'm not even sure what it was, some kind of a SUV, but it had a 6-inch lift kit on it, and he couldn't drive over 50 miles an hour at fishtail so bad. They hooked it up to just a standard truck, and no problem. So it depends on your tow vehicle a little bit. It'll depend on how you distribute your weight. But for the most part, there's people here that do have the sway bars. For the most part, I don't think you're going to need them, but it's an added security or peace of mind if you want to go that route.
I have a couple of questions. We have a 2018 320, had it about a month. Second trip, we're coming home, look back, and the black rubber gaskets flapping in the breeze. And I understand this is a common problem. What do you recommend putting that, or adhering it back with? This is the gap, the black rubber along the
Runs along the trim there.
So the question was the rubber stripping that's on the ABS trim. She had hers come loose, and I've seen it quite a bit. What we use is a 3M automotive adhesive. It's actually a gasket adhesive. I know at one point we were not putting enough of it on, and so I think that was part of the problem, and we've increased the amount of glue we put on. But yeah, that's probably what I would recommend. You can buy it at any auto store. It's called a 3M automotive adhesive gas. Is it automotive? Automotive adhesive. Is it called trim adhesive? Yeah. So.
The other question on the battery disconnect. When you have it on disconnect, are you receiving any charge from your vehicle as you're towing, or from shore power if you're hooked up?
No.
So it has
Well,
to be
from
on to
yeah.
charge you.
When you're plugged into shore power, the question was if the battery is charging when you have the cutoff switch off. You will have the cutoff switch turned on to where you see the green on it to get charged from your truck when you're towing it, or from shore power.
And to allow your emergency brakes to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you turn it off, it's off.
Yeah.
To your past discussion, last question on towing, I've got that 320 boondock 17, pulling it with an FJ, no lift kit, so I got a shorter wheelbase, a little bit higher ride. First thing when I got it, and I don't know if anybody else had that, I sort of put this to the group, it would slam. I'd come in, I'd come off the ramp, and it'd start to slam on itself, do a back and forth slamming within that hook. I dampened that down two ways. Weight distribution within the vehicle, in the trailer, and the second was Cabela's has a unit where off of the hitch, it's got a dampener piece of rubber within the inside where that pin goes through. So it rides in a rubber dampener. So those two things soften that up for me. It still does a little push and pull when I'm coming off a ramp down in speed and I'm downshifting. Does anybody else have that same problem?
Is it sliding within the hitch?
It just feels like it's almost like on the hitch, yeah. It almost feels like it's not tight enough. It's almost like it's rising.
There is a clamp you can get that'll mark that.
Yeah.
The bar going into the hitch. So you can put a little U-shaped screw in it.
Yep.
Comes out.
Brakes are cheaper than transmissions. I would use the brakes.
I'm riding manual 6-speed, so I'm using the engine coming down. So I'm coming, not even using my brake. I'm coming on the engine. I'm coming down into a ramp, and that thing's hitting.
There's a plant that'll cut it right next to the band. The mini band.
What else do we have here?
Cost of adding solar. Best anchors for sidewalls.
Skip this one.
Okay.
Or you can tell them, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, ask, contact Warren to do it.
Okay.
Repair department.
Just a few of these left.
We need to whip in here.
We know what you look like now.
Yeah, I know what you look like.
Are you guys good?
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
We got like maybe 4 more questions. We're gonna try to hurry through them, and then I want to do a little bit of a demonstration on. There's some questions on how to hook up your trailer properly. So that's what we have this trailer here. So we're going to do a little bit of demonstration on where to look for on caulking, where we want to maintain the caulking, and also probably chacking points, so where we can put a chack on. So we're going to run through a couple more questions real quick and try to get everybody out of here. So you're probably getting hungry. I know I am. So try to get through it real quick.
Great. Somebody asked for the cost of adding solar if you don't have factory solar. I would contact Parts or the repair shop. They'll have that for you. I can tell you if you don't have a shower unit in the tab, it's going to be very difficult. Just an FYI, because that's where you run the wiring for the solar panel. If you don't have a shower, you're going to have exposed wires. But next question was best anchors to use in the sidewalls. I get asked this a lot. Best thing would be 3M command strips. If anything, if you can stick to those without using screws. If you're going to use screws, nothing more than 3/4 inch long. Let's say you're trying to put in a spice rack. Maybe use 3M strip tapes. And then a couple screws just for reinforcement as far as anchors. Then we've got caulking, how to maintenance caulk on all units. So we will do that on that unit, and then we're going to do the connecting and disconnecting. So, okay.
The one thing I think I did tell one of the customers, I can't remember who, asked about the solar cost. I didn't have all the costs, so that's why we weren't going to release. But I still recommend you calling Austin at the repair shop. But for a tap, it's roughly, with product and installation, roughly around $1,000 to do that.
Just a quick comment, and I think probably everybody's feeling it. Very few organizations will have troubleshooting and questionnaires. And personally, I'd like to thank the 3 of you for being here and doing this.
Yes.
Because it means a lot. Put a lot of people's minds at ease on things that are bothering them or things that they've got concerns, and it's just dynamite to have the 3 of you up there.
Yeah, it makes my life easier down the road. I did have one question, and you can also leave feedback at tech@nuCamp then later if you have ideas of how we could improve this. One idea I had, and I didn't know if it would even make sense or not, would be to split up the different like 400 group to the tech group, tech group, have it on different days even. That way we wouldn't have quite as a big group. And
That's a good idea. You have more specific questions.
So that we can all make sure that we get the information we need. I agree with splitting up the 400 tab, tag, all that kind of stuff. But then don't do Aldi while we're doing that, because a lot of us have issues that we need to come to them too. So this way it will give us an opportunity.
You're assuming we'll get him back next year.
He wants to come back.
I just don't want to say, I can say it makes more sense. It seems to me it makes more sense to divide up as, you know, plumbing and related.
No, because technically,
with solar.
through all the Aldi talk,
By model.
because through all the Aldi talk, all the tag owners had, it doesn't apply to them. So, yeah. So,
Maybe a technical talk and the where morons talk.
but yeah, if you, I don't want to take too much more time, but if you have ideas and stuff like that, you can always just shoot us an email. But we're always trying to get better, more efficient. I know the first time I did this, I was going to do an hour talk. I think it ended up being 3 hours. Now it's been close to 2 hours. So every time we can get better and get ideas, it's always great. We like to hear from you guys.
Does anybody know that the fellow who suggested he bring his gauge for measuring tongue weight showed up at the rally this year? Somebody suggested on the internet he's going to bring that with him.
I saw that somewhere too. I haven't heard of him
I
yet.
ran into him.
I don't even know who it was.